What up, though, everybody, and welcome to Lions Nation Unite. I am Spencer Raxter. He is Speak Easy. We are the Woodward Heavyweights, and that was Dose of Dion down there below us. I'm sure he's just grabbing his little pink headphones, and then he's going to be back in here. But we appreciate you all tapping into Lions Nation Unite. Obviously, this is a platform created by Herman Moore and CZ Chrissy to kind of bring all Lions content creators and fans together to produce some great things for the fans. There's the headphones for Dion. How you guys doing? Easy. I know you've been going through it this week, brother.
Oh man, yeah. I it's just a flu, but I never had it like that. Like this past week, I feel like I just got done tripping. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on the show, but that's what I feel like I just got done doing, man. It's been rough, but I'm alive. Made it alive, and here we are talking Detroit Lions and Lions Nation Unite. Dion's got the OG headphones on.
Dion's got the OG headphones on. Dion, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, Spencer, you're a little quiet, so I was just wanting to turn it up a little bit. So I was like, all right, let me grab the other headphone. Man, I feel good. Easy. I think that's I don't know. I had that like a couple weeks ago, so I feel like maybe it's a weather thing or something. I don't know, man, but like I'm good now. You know what I mean? But it took a while, so I'm rooting for you, man. Get through it.
Thursday, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to go to work today, and I was like, let me grab some medicine and some Gatorade before I go in. You know, I'm like in my early. Like the Mr. Krabs, like
Mr. Krabs,
no. Yeah, I was like, I ain't going to work.
Well, we appreciate all of you joining us in the chat thread. We're on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter here for Lions Nation Unite. Again, I'm Spencer Raxter. He is Speak Easy. We're the Woodward Heavyweights, and you guys know the OG, the GOAT of Detroit Lions YouTube, Dose of Dion. Appreciate Chicken Nugget King, a member of the LNU Army. Shout out to ARF. Frog Comp, Jonathan Anton, Brett DeWitt, Detroit Grit, Gun Guy, everybody in there. We appreciate you tapping in. And we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, the Lions on that bye week in the playoffs. They get the first round bye by being the number one seed in the NFC, something new territory for Lions fans. We've never done this before, but it's good because we needed it to have some guys heal up. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the injuries, and we're going to get into some around the league stuff because, like, who would you want to see come to Ford Field to play the Detroit Lions? But first things first, do you guys have a moment to talk about my Lord and Savior, Kirby Joseph? Because the Detroit Lions got some All-Pros. And guess what? Kirby Joseph was a first-team All-Pro. Vikings fans, what happened? What happened, Vikings fans? I thought he wasn't good. Lions that made the first-team All-Pro include Kirby Joseph, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, and Jack Fox. And then we know Frank Ragnow and Khalif Raymond on the second team. Before we get into who is snubbed, before we get into that, I'm just happy that these guys got recognition. Amon-Ra and Penei Sewell back-to-back first-team All-Pros. Jack Fox set the NFL record for net punt yards in a season, average net punt yards, and he deserved that very much. And then Kirby Joseph, we know he could be Defensive Player of the Year, and he gets the first-team All-Pro nod. Dion, we'll start with you. How do you feel about these Lions finally getting the recognition they deserve, especially Kirby Joseph?
I got a question for both of y'all. What do you put more stock in, Pro Bowl or All-Pro? Because I was thinking about this. Typically, it'd be All-Pro, right?
Yeah.
But I was just thinking because, like, from my understanding, they break it into kind of like thirds. Like, you have the fan voting and all this stuff for Pro Bowl. But if we're looking at from All-Pro, and we don't really I don't know how y'all feel, but I don't even know who does all the voting. I know a couple of them. But like,
it's the AP, it's the Associated Press. So
you feel better about the Associated Press versus the Pro Bowl voting? Are you both in agreement on that?
I do, yeah. Because Kirby Joseph won the fan voting 2 years in a row.
Okay.
The reason why, too, man, is like in the Pro Bowl, you had the whole Tyler Huntley stuff. There's been so many like weird mishaps for like guys that didn't deserve to be in the Pro Bowl where they landed in the Pro Bowl. And it's almost made that award meaningless anymore. And I guess there should be more value in the coaches and players voting you. But obviously there's some politics there because Kirby Joseph should have been in the Pro Bowl regardless, no matter what.
100%. And that's a player. I'd rather be in the Pro Bowl. Because that way I can go to the game. I mean, if anything, if I'm not a Super Bowl, I'm going to the game. So yeah, that's how I just usually thought about it. It was always Pro Bowl or All Pro over Pro Bowl, but I didn't know like if I was missing something there. I'll say this, man. Kirby, he said what he had to say. He deserved that for sure. And the thing is, Kirby's like one of those dudes where it's like, you know how you have those players where they have like the gaudy stats and they're like, okay, he should be there. But some people push back like, oh man, those are just numbers that are inflated. Kirby's not that dude. Kirby does everything this year. Kirby's like improved so much. You know, when we've been down at safety, he's been awesome. The one guy though that I think was clearly missing, maybe two, one for sure though is Jack Campbell. Second team All Pro. I think Jack Campbell should have slid in there. Somewhere he had to be in that spot. He took over the linebacker room for us this year. And what the defense has done, I don't know why he doesn't get maybe more recognition from that, because I'll tell you what, outside of the safety position, we don't get a lot of love on defense. You know what I mean? We don't get a lot of love cornerback, defensive line right now without Hutch. So I feel like Jack Campbell should have slid his way in there. I was a little bit disappointed he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would have been surprised. I know Zach Bond was the one guy I know for sure was going to make it in.
Yep.
Panay.
Second team.
Second team, yeah.
For Frank.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at that. I can't really come off the top of my head with any other names that would have been more deserving than Jack Campbell. I think he was phenomenal this year. Held it down in a big way because we lost half our defense.
Yeah. Like he overcompensated, especially without Alex Anzalone. Like it's one of those things. And then he has all the stats to back him up too. Like the run stop rate was the best in football by far for a while. So it's like this guy was everything he did got better this season. You know what I mean? Like everything he did got better this season. So it's like whatever numbers you looked at would support Jack Campbell probably over anybody outside of like interceptions. He doesn't have those, I guess. So maybe that's why he didn't get it.
I would have loved to see Jack Campbell in there. Personally, I think the biggest snub or biggest, robbery for the All-Pro team for Lions was Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah.
I think you look at him and what he did this year, coming into one of the most complex blocking schemes in the NFL. They talk about it all the time, how this run scheme is so tough to pick up. He did it without having a training camp. He was injured in training camp and didn't really get to go out there and get used to playing next to the guys that he's next to now. This is his first year on a team in this Ben Johnson system that is notoriously hard to pick up and notoriously difficult to master. And he was playing at an elite level. Like at an elite level. And I think he kind of is guilty by association because he is in between Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell. I think people look at that and say, oh, you got two All-Pros on both sides of you. How good are you really? But if I'm an offensive line freak. Like I watch film on these offensive linemen. And when you look at Frank, or you look at Kevin Zeitler and what he does with his footwork, with his blocking, getting up, chipping, and then getting up to the next level. That was the I don't want to say knock on him, but that was the concern from some Lions fans was the run blocking from him. They said, yeah, he's going to be an upgrade on Jonah Jackson in pass protection, no doubt. But is he as good as Jonah Jackson in the run blocking and getting out there into the second level and up in front of these backs? And he was fantastic. He was a mauler, getting out there, blocking in front of these running backs, getting out there to the second level to take on linebackers. I think that Kevin Zeitler was the biggest snub in my mind.
Yeah, I think one of the guys that got it over him was the kid from Denver, which he is.
He was first team.
He's pretty good. He's very athletic. But I'm with you. Kevin Zeitler should have got a spot, first or second team. Would have only made sense. And I think the other thing, too, that makes this All-Pro roster more prestigious than the Pro Bowl roster is a Pro Bowl, there's multiple guys selected, where this one, there's only one first team, right? It's like there's no QB2 on that team. There's just QB1 on an All-Pro team. And to grab that position says you're the best at your position in the game. So I think there's just more value in that one. But now I'm with you guys. Zeitler, I definitely look at that one as a robbery. Campbell, Campbell as well. I think that's a more interesting one. Zeitler, I think everyone kind of saw as a little bit of a robbery. I didn't really see Campbell as one until Dion said it. Now I'm looking at these second team guys. Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner did it. That's actually insane.
Bobby Wagner's an animal, dude.
He's still making All-Pro teams. And Zaire Franklin. Zaire Franklin's actually a beast, too. We got a good team, man. We really do.
Jack Campbell will be a first team All-Pro linebacker next year.
Brian Branch, do you think he got snubbed at all from the second team?
I think, he by his play, he should have been an All-Pro. But when you look at what happened in the second half of the year, he was dealing with that injury, and he didn't really have the splash plays, the big plays that we were seeing out of him in the beginning of the year. And I think that was a part of the injury he was dealing with. And he was kind of forced back into that nickel role with Carlton Davis going down, Amik bumping outside. He had to play a lot more in coverage, and they weren't using him as that roamer and that blitzer as much, so he could get those havoc plays that he was so high up in the NFL in, which, if you don't know, the havoc plays are forced fumbles, tackles for loss, interceptions, pass breakups, and I think that's it. All of those combined, they call them havoc plays. And unfortunately, Brian Branch wasn't able to get a lot of those in the second half, partly because of the injury, partly because they needed him in coverage so much because of Carlton Davis going down. But he's an all-pro in my mind. He is one of the most explosive players in the NFL. And if Carlton Davis wasn't injured and he was able to play the full season at that strong safety spot, I believe he would have made it. Dion looks like an alien right now.
I'm just listening, man. It's a lot of good, good noise coming from this. Look, I mean, it's good. It's good. I want to be able to hear what's going on. That's why I appreciate the two headphones. Look, you brought the idea up, by the way. I wasn't gonna grab the second headphone. You threw it out there. I was like, well, of course I gotta grab them now at this point. So scoop them up. I like what you said. I feel like the whole move of Brian Branch going into the slot threw him off when getting an all-pro spot. Like, if he just didn't go there, he probably would be an all-pro. I mean, his numbers at safety, like you said, he made plays when he was at safety. It doesn't happen as much from the slot position. And honestly, like, it hasn't been perfect for him since he's kicked down there. But even that, like, in a way, you could spin it as a positive. Like, how many safeties can do that? How many safeties just take over that role? And it's like, yeah, he's still pretty darn good there, too. If he was just stuck in one position all year, I think he'd for sure be an all-pro. Feels like that's the one thing holding him back.
Yeah, those are excellent points. Had not to switch up with Iffy and all that stuff like that. Yeah, you've been making plays, continue to make plays.
That's why I kind of like.
If he's coming in, no, you're good. I was just saying, if he's coming in angry in the postseason, there was something, a chip on his shoulder. Like I'm here for that too.
And Rakestraw is coming back, so maybe you're not going to throw him in there in the playoffs, but if you could put him at slot for just a couple plays and allow Branch and Iffy to be floaters out in that secondary, that you could create. Talk about havoc. A third down, you need it. You put Rakestraw at slot, and then you got Iffy and Branch flying in off the edge. I don't know. They're not going to put him out there probably unless they have to because it is the playoffs. But
you probably put Iffy at linebacker.
I'd like to see Iffy at that Sam role, honestly.
You definitely be doing some freaky stuff to make it happen, but I'm not opposed.
Be some wild stuff. It'd be a linebacker. It'd be like the whole. Well, I mean, you could try it, and they did it with Jamal, like just very barely, but
he's big enough,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
he blitzes anyway.
Right. Hey, if you know they're gonna throw it, just take Campbell off the field, put Alex out there with Iffy. Like I'm on board with that for sure. Like there's no need to have two linebackers on the field. If it's 3rd and 8, they got two tight ends. Cool. Iffy and Alex hold it down. Like I don't need you on the field, man. Because I like Jack, but that's not his game. Honestly, though, the thing is I still want Iffy to get better in man coverage. Like, just a side note, like, I feel like that's still not where, like, when we drafted this guy playing outside corner, I thought the expectation was, like, he's going to cook there. And I just don't feel like that's translated. The weird thing is everything else is translated incredibly. And I still think that's, like, the learning spot for him. But I'm optimistic. Like, here's the weird spot, right? Because I think we get into, like, who's coming back next year. And, like, Amik Robertson now could shake it up. Rakestraw is a great name because I think next year Rakestraw competes for the slot. And if you don't bring Carlton back, you kick Amik outside, and he's competition for Brian Branch, and then you figure out how the safety rolls out. But I think Iffy is, like, one of those guys where, because he's on the last year of his deal, I wish he would have had more time to practice because I feel like with Kirby, he's gotten so much better in coverage. And that wasn't his thing, like going up and matching somebody. But Kirby's gotten better. Tracy Walker got a lot better there over time with the Lions. I just don't feel like if he's had the time to develop there, he's kind of just the same guy in that spot. And I just think if that had time to kind of grow, like offseason, just being healthy, I mean, he could be the best safety in football, no question, at this point.
Yeah.
So I think it hurts a little bit when you talk about re-signing him. The benefit is maybe he's cheaper because of it.
Yeah, shout out to borderline Pro Bowler Tracy Walker, and you look at these guys in that safety room, man, and it's true. Whoever goes out there is playing at such a high level, and I think that is because Kirby Joseph is back there. Like this guy, I had the viral clip that I called him the equalizer on defense. And I'm not talking Queen Latifah. Like he is Denzel, the equalizer out there. He takes the ball away. He covers your mistakes. He allows Brian Branch to be uber aggressive. He allows Iffy Melifonwu to blitz and be uber aggressive because they know they have the best ball hawk in the NFL back there that's going to cover up for them if they get beat on one of those routes. So we saw it in the Vikings game where I can't remember who it was. I think it was Justin Jefferson. He got the ball down the field and he's running and he's about to score the touchdown. And who tracks him down at the 10-yard line? Kirby Joseph gets him on the ground, and then we know what happened there. The red zone defense stood up, and the Vikings walk away with nothing. So Kirby Joseph is extremely important. And, again, shout out to Zuper, man. I am so happy for him that he got this All-Pro nod. It was like no doubt in my mind that he was going to get it, but it's just good to see it on paper. And again, real quick shout out to everybody in the chat here. We are Lions Nation Unite. I am Spencer Raxter. He is Speak Easy. We're the Wilbur Heavyweights, and you know the GOAT of Lions Twitter, Dose of Dion as well. So shout out to Lisa in the chat. Appreciate you. Shout out Ornery U of M Dad, Zach, Ion, Keith O, Toxic FPV, Just a Fan, YouTube, no iTube. Shout out to all you guys, Brent DeWitt, Stephen S. We really appreciate it. And go get some merch. You see Easy's got the hat on. I got the Vikings suck shirt on because Vikings are slowly becoming my most hated team in the NFC North. Like, they might take over the Packers for me just because their fan base are such bitches. Pardon my French. But you can get all the merch you need, lionsnationunite.com. They got the NFC North champion shirts. You got the Vikings suck, Packers suck, Bears suck, Kings of the North. Easy's got the cool hat on. Whatever you need, lionsnationunite.com. Go get yourself some merch.
Yeah.
We talked about
were those Vikings fans from last time we were live? That's
weird.
That's weird. I don't really see any of those same accounts.
You know, I was curious about that because I didn't get a lot of hostility from Vikings fans, but I had the same issue. Easy, you know what I mean? They coming at me when I was on BR, and then it was like, I'll be here. I was like, all right, just come back, man. I don't, you know what happens? I gotta be here. You gotta be here too. I'll be here. They weren't there, Easy. A lot of people being there. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to find out.
Weird.
If you're gonna talk, maybe just at least show back up. And be like, dang, man, y'all got us this week. Okay.
Vikings fans, just a fan base made of my dad. Just guys that didn't show up. I'm joking.
Vikings fans go to get some milk and a pack of smokes.
That's crazy.
Never came back. Damn, deep cut. Oh, speaking of which,
milk.
me and Pops are going to the Pistons game tonight. I'm hyped for that. I know this is Lions Nation Unite, but Pistons playing well. Shout out the Red Wings too, 6 in a row. Tom McClellan, dude,
just play effing hockey.
Playing effing hockey.
That is crazy.
Speaking of leaving and maybe never coming back, Ben Johnson. Hot topic, hot commodity, taking a lot of interviews, as well as Aron Glenn. I saw Aron Glenn did an interview with the Jaguars recently. Ben Johnson is obviously the hottest commodity when it comes to the head coaching search. He is going to be the best candidate for an NFL head coach until he is an NFL head coach. I personally believe he's going to come back. I don't know. I just get the feeling that he's going to come back next year. Aron Glenn, he's gone. It's either going to be the Jets or the Saints. I've already, accepted the fact that Aron Glenn's probably not going to be the defensive coordinator next year. But I'm still holding out hope for Ben Johnson. But news came out very recently. I can't remember who it was. It was one of those Rappaport or Fowler or one of those guys says that Tom Brady and the Raiders are enamored by Ben Johnson. And they really want Ben Johnson to be their next head coach. And who wouldn't? The Raiders just fired their GM. The Raiders are going to get into, we know about their owner, Mark Davis, and that's not the best scenario. We know about their roster right now, and that's not the best scenario. But if they get a new GM with Tom Brady calling some shots, kind of like Chris Spielman is for the Detroit Lions, could you see the Raiders being a player for Ben Johnson, Dion?
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, I saw the same thing this morning. My bad, Easy. Go ahead, Easy.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
I got my kid. I don't know what the hell's going on. I was just saying,
fire. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I saw you fighting with B, so I was gonna kick it to Dion first.
No, you're good. I was just saying, I didn't know who was going to. I apologize. To the Raiders. It's starting to scare me a little bit because one of the reasons it was one of the craziest headlines I've seen, and it's so funny about the Chicago Bears, but I guess Ryan Poles didn't want Ben Johnson as the head coach. He was nervous about that being the situation. Insane. And I'm like, okay, well, let me see why. Like, what's the beef here? And it's because Ben wants to have an alignment with the front office and general management, and that's what it's been in Detroit between Brad Holmes and Dan Gamble. That's what he's seen work from top down. So why would he want that same thing going into his situation? He's been very adamant about like what type of situation he wants to walk into. So then you see the Raiders fire their GM. Ben Johnson picks up an interview there. and all the stars are starting to align a little bit. The only thing they don't have is that quarterback and a couple offensive pieces. But Tom Brady's that's got to be a good sell.
Yeah.
Isn't it against the rules for Tom Brady to be like kind of running an NFL team while being a commentator as well? On the I don't know.
I think it should be.
He
Yeah,
officially left. I think he officially left though. I don't know like when that kicks in, but like I read a couple days ago, like he's left the deal with like Fox or whatever.
Okay, good. He sucked anyways. Greg Olsen was way better than Tom Brady. Greg Olsen deserves to be in that spot.
Yeah,
as I agree actually.
But Dion, how do you feel about Ben Johnson potentially to the Raiders?
No, I mean I hate it, man. I saw that this morning too. So what you were saying, yeah, I saw it this morning, and I thought the immediate thing too. I thought like, man, Tom Brady knows what he's doing, because that's where the concern. It's weird because we're seeing it now. I don't know if you guys posted it. I saw someone post it, but either way, we see that every year. There's like trends of like who to go after, and it feels like teams kind of fall into like what's hot. And obviously Dan Campbell's been that. So it's like, all right, let's go get Dan Campbell. So everybody's going after the old guy that's coached before. So Ben Johnson, for whatever reason, is being overlooked now. Like, I don't know if he could turn around it. But it's like forever everybody wanted these offensive minds. That was like the thing for a while right before that. So I think a team like the Raiders that aren't overlooking him because they think they need somebody that's coached before, this is a perfect opportunity for them to scoop a guy that 2 years ago there'd be no shot. Ben Johnson's probably going somewhere else because everybody wants him. And good job, Bears. Like, keep missing on good coaches, man. You missed on Harbaugh, too. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing, all right? Just hire from within. Do what you got to do. But, yeah, no, I hate it, but I'm still holding out hope, too. You know what I mean? I still believe that there's a way. But honestly, I'm going to tell you this, Eazy. I think they got their guy. I think Ben Johnson might see his dude over there. Just laying it out there,
What you talking about?
Little Aiden O'Connell in their life. You know what I mean? They saw that little stretch. Ben Johnson might have had that. He might have fell asleep to that. Like, oh my goodness.
I mean,
this guy.
I can see Ben seeing Aiden O'Connell.
Are you kidding me? Hey, I'm just saying. He looked pretty good down the stretch. Easy. I've been riding with this. I'm going to keep riding with him, man. But Brock Bowers was crazy. First team All-Pro. Speaking of All-Pros, it's ridiculous, man. First team All-Pros a rookie. I don't know if that's ever happened.
And Lisa had a good question in the chat. If you guys want to comment on this, why would Ben Johnson want to put his career as a head coach on the line to work for Davis? And we saw Aron Glenn turn down the Patriots job, I think, as a direct correlation to them and what they did to Gerard Mayo and just got him out there. Aron Glenn's like, why would I want to be involved in that after what you just did to him? That's my personal speculation. Obviously, there's nothing backing that, but I agree with what Lisa said. I don't think he's going to go to the Raiders because Mark Davis is a child. Like, he's a man baby. And you look at this, he said multiple times, Ben Johnson has said, I want a perfect situation from owner to GM to my coaching staff to the players, and they don't have a GM. Their owner is bad. They got some good players, but not a great roster by any means. I just don't see Tom Brady being this enticing that Ben Johnson's going to go to the Raiders. I don't.
I mean, it's just the thing is, though, Mark Davis relinquished all the football decisions to Tom Brady. So it's not really Mark Davis that's in control anymore that you have to worry about.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, say he could always step on his feet, and just be like, yeah, we're getting rid of this guy. That's always the concern, because he still is that dude. But I'm with you, Easy. Like, that's what I think about, too. It's like he should just be letting Tom Brady handle everything. This has been a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he said. I guess he was like loosening up to the idea of trading Crosby at some point this year. And then, like when it got to Brady was like, no, we're not trading Max Crosby. And I mean, we'll see, man. There's definitely a lot more. I don't think I thought Aiden O'Connell would be better than he's been. Maybe Ben could say him. I don't think he's going to be anything like amazing like that. That's the only thing that is like unattractive there to me is just the fact they have like Ben would have to build up, and I don't even think they have a great draft pick right now to even grab a quarterback. I don't even know that I'd necessarily believe in a Shador or Cam Ward coming out this year. Like it'll be like a free agent acquisition or trade, I think, until they finally got somebody. And I think Ben would be missing that one part. But them firing that GM was very telling, man, because the Jags didn't do it. They kept bulky. Obviously, the Bears keeping polls. What other situation he's going to? New England? Who's even the GM? They don't have one, do they?
No. I like New England too, though, to be honest. Let me ask y'all this because
I like New England for Ben a lot more.
Shout out Christian Gonzalez.
Dog, bro.
Yeah.
See, that's for me. If there's a place I could go, I'm going to New England. What would be your spot? You guys think that you would go to if you had the choice? I'd go to New England if I had the choice.
New
I
England.
mean, New England would be a good choice. I think. Other than the way they treated Gerard Mayo, they have obviously a great history of being a dominant franchise, and then Tom Brady plays a big factor in that. Oh man, is it crazy if I say the Bears? Like, is that crazy? I don't want to give them any props, but I think Caleb Williams is going to be good. I saw enough out of Caleb Williams this year to be like, all right, he is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. And they just they're like two offensive linemen away from being a very good team. So I think the Bears personally, obviously I don't want Ben Johnson to go to the Bears, but I think that's the best scenario for a head coach to walk into. You got your franchise quarterback, or what you hope is going to be your franchise quarterback. You got playmakers. The defense is solid. Like they need probably an interior defensive lineman to round it out, but your linebacking core is good. You got a stud corner. You got a stud pass rusher. I think the Bears are the best scenario for a head coach to walk into.
Yeah, I probably say the Bears. If I'm taking like the GM part out of the equation, the Bears and the Jags would be in that conversation too because of Trevor Lawrence and whatnot. Me as a Trevor Lawrence truther, I wanted Ben to go there, but they kept Bulky, and I was like, "What are we doing, Shot?" And after he cut Bulky, he's like, next coach, like all his football choices would go to me, not Bulky. But I'm like, well, why are you keeping him then? Because he hasn't been drafting well either. It's not like he's been like kicking ass in the draft. He's the one that took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. They have he's had issues before in the past of GM. I think they have the issue.
I remember with Jim Harbaugh.
Alignment.
Remember he chased off Jim Harbaugh from the 49ers.
You gotta if you're gonna rock with Balky, like you gotta like tie that with the head coach. You can't just have Balky there and then hire a head coach because that thing's gonna play him out in 2 years, bro. You gotta find like the perfect match with those two. I don't know. Balky's probably got something going on over there that we don't know about, and that's why he's still there. That's probably what that is.
Yes, dude. Yeah, it's great.
It
let me down because I like Shad as a owner. I thought I was gonna like him as an owner, and no, he's just.
Well, he's got a mustache.
Yeah, I think that's it. He reminded me of the guy I used to play with on Street Fighter. I think that's what it was.
Who?
I don't even remember his name. I'll find a picture of him though.
Blanca, the green guy with the orange hair.
No, the Indian dude with the yellow trunks.
Oh yeah,
Indian muscle man.
Something with a Z, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that was disappointing. I guess I don't know why. I think it's just because I believe. Yes, I think it's just because I believed in Trevor Lawrence, and now I know he's probably effed. To be honest with you.
Well, look, man, the way that Aiden O'Connell works is the way that Sam Darnold works. You know what I mean? Like if it's gonna happen, you got to have a great offensive mind to make this thing happen. Darnold probably has more talent. I'm not gonna think, but that's the concern. That's where I think the Bears pick is a fine pick. I think it's a fine pick if you're just saying roster, because I think there's an easy case they have the best roster. The problem with Lawrence is obviously he's getting paid, so you have no flexibility there. You're kind of just stuck with him. So you better like the guy because that's your guy. But at least you got flexibility with like the Raiders, even though there's no quarterbacks coming out, and the Bears, you have a ton of flexibility with that. I think they have the most options. No one trusts the front office there, though.
And again, I just want to shout out to the chat, everybody in there. Make sure you smash that like button on YouTube, like, subscribe, share on Facebook and on Twitter. Appreciate you joining in. Everybody in Jonathan Anton, Keith O, the Dole Spoon, Just a Fan, Lisa, Stephen S, Scotty B's Adventures. Everybody, we appreciate you supporting Lions Nation Unite. Obviously, I'm Spencer Raxter. He is Speak Easy. We're the Woodward Heavyweights. And obviously, Dose of Dion, the man, the myth, the legend. You guys all know him. Appreciate you tapping in. But I saw this.
Guys, you real quick, because you say he's staying.
Yeah.
What about you thinks he's staying?
I just got a feeling, I just kind of like the Jack Campbell. I just got a feeling. He likes football. I just think I called out Jack Campbell being a Dan Campbell guy, and you asked me on the show on Woodward Heavyweights. You're like, why? Like based on what? I was like, I don't know. He likes football and he's crazy. It sounds like Dan Campbell to me. So I don't know. The writing. I just don't see Ben. One, because like I said, he is going to be the most coveted head coaching candidate until he is a head coach. Like his stock is not going to lower. He's just going to, if anything, it's going to keep going up because that offense is going nowhere with the weapons they have and with how in tune him and Jared Goff are to what they want to do. And he said it himself. He's looking for a perfect scenario. And I don't see a lot of perfect scenarios on the market right now. I saw somebody saying he's waiting for Andy Reid to retire. That's something I could buy into. That's something I could really buy into is that like he's waiting for Andy Reid to retire to go over there because talk about a perfect scenario. When I think of perfect scenarios in the NFL for a head coach to walk into, I look at the Eagles, I look at the Chiefs, and I look at the Lions. When you talk about continuity, front office, drafting ability, and player acquisition, I think those are the three teams that do it the best. And so maybe he's waiting for Nick Sirianni to get fired. Maybe he's waiting for Andy Reid to retire. We'll see. But I don't see any of these jobs as a perfect scenario for him to walk into. Again, I could be completely wrong here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he took one of these jobs. But I don't know. I just feel like none of these check all the boxes that Ben Johnson is looking for, and he has the flexibility to be picky. He has the flexibility to be greedy. He doesn't need a job. He's not, running out of options. And no offense to Aron Glenn, but Aron Glenn's old. He's an older guy. He's trying to get his head coaching career started. Ben Johnson's a younger guy. He's got plenty of time before he really needs to dive into those waters.
How old is Aron Glenn? I didn't know he's that old.
Aron Glenn, let's check. He's got to be over 50, right?
Okay.
Yeah, 52.
Pete Carroll.
Damn.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't notice that. He looks young, man. He looked young.
That's not who I thought it was. Who is that?
Oh,
he does look like him.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name?
I don't know. I just typed in Street Fighter mustache. Aroon Mister.
Yeah, he does kind of look like him. But there's another thing that I wanted to put out there that I saw. Let me see if I can find it again in the chat. Oh, here it is from Jonathan Anton. Because we're talking a lot about Aron Glenn and Ben Johnson leaving. But I think two guys that we should be worried about, maybe not worried about, but two guys that are very likely to get opportunities are Chris Spielman and Ray Agnew. When you look at GMs, there are a lot of GM opportunities opening. And why would you not want to grab a guy that has been around Brad Holmes, what he done? I think Ray Agnew is going to be a GM very, very soon in the NFL. And Chris Spielman, obviously, he's got the magic touch, and the guy knows football. So are you worried about losing either of those guys?
Yes. I think Chris Spielman has so many more resources than people realize. He's also just obsessed with the game. I don't know if I had to be with one of you guys. I typically am when I go to these training camp sessions, but Chris Spielman was out there filling out the holes in the grass out there during like training camp. Like that's a groundskeeper's job, but he loves the game so much. He's there taking care of it. He also has his brother, Rick Spielman, who I thought was a damn good GM over there in Minnesota. And I'm sure they bounce back ideas, back and forth when they're talking about players in the draft and whatnot. So it's like an extra like GM to have in your pocket that you're not even paying, right? Because that's his brother. He's helping him out. And then Ray Agnew, I just think we were talking about like a piece of Brad Holmes. That's what you're looking at right there. A guy that's been in every little bit of the process with them going back to LA. He and Ray Agnew have been really close and really tight knit to the point where there's certain interviews they're doing it after the draft or leading to the draft where Brad's just leaving it up to Ray Agnew, or he's splitting those interview sessions with Ray Agnew. He's got Ray right to his right. And Dion, you and I got to meet him this past summer in training camp in the parking lot. The dude's I forgot he played defensive line. I forgot he played at that level. He's a big dude. His hands are huge. But he's also just a genuine nice dude. Like he's just the easygoing. Like it's kind of mind blowing that he hasn't got that opportunity. I don't know if people take him serious or not.
I might be weird on this. I don't think I'd be concerned if either of them left, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't want them to leave, of course. But like if they did, I don't think it'd be a huge problem. First off, I think they just go within. They got a lot of like veteran scouts in there, and they would just go right back to the college scouting department. Bring up somebody that's been there for 20 years, kind of like Agnew, and just pop him into that position. I think that's what they would do. And, they've kind of done this with coaches, too, to what Eazy just said, where it's like what they're doing with Ray Agnew. They're trying to get him to the next level. Like, they're giving those opportunities to kind of be in the spotlight. That's awesome. That's what the organization would be a part of. Just throw that out there. Like, the people that are trying to get you to the next spot. So I think if Agnew left, they would go with one of those older guys, like a Hudspeth or something, and he would just pop into that role and he'd get that opportunity. And I don't think we'd feel the drop off a ton there. But the Chris Spielman was tough because it's like how, like he obviously was part of the most important part, which was the start. It was getting Dan Campbell. Beyond that, I'm sure there's a lot of things that he's doing that we have no idea about. But like, I would be honestly surprised if Chris Spielman got a job relatively soon. But where are you guys on that? I saw that he met with the Jets, but I don't know if there's been any other team that's popped up there.
So the Jets hired his brother to help hire their next GM and coach, and I think that may have been why he got the interview. That's actually, if I'm being honest with you, that's probably the one I'm least worried about losing is Spielman.
Right.
One, I don't really know if he wants to leave. I think he bleeds Detroit Lions. Yeah, he's like a Lion for life. And the other thing too is like every other piece of the operation we kind of still have, like to Dion's point. But Ray Agnew, I think we'd miss a little bit of scouting. But you're probably right. It wouldn't hurt so bad.
Yeah. Excuse me. I do think that Chris Spielman, it would take a Godfather offer for Chris Spielman to leave the Lions because obviously he loves the Detroit Lions so much. He loves Sheila Ford Hamp so much. Him and Brad Holmes have a very, very good relationship. And I think that it would take something kind of crazy to get to pry him from this Detroit Lions team, especially with how much pride he must have in what they are now, in what they've built into, and in the part that he's played in building them back to the glory of when he was a player here. So I think that he's a very prideful man. He is a very honorable man. You know, I'm talking about him like he's Ned Stark, but he kind of is. Like the guy is a legend. So, like I said, I think it would take a very, very enticing offer for Chris Spielman to leave the Detroit Lions. Ray Agnew, though, kind of like Aron Glenn, like I would be surprised if Ray Agnew wasn't a GM next year. And this is, I agree with what Dion said. I don't mean to downplay Ray Agnew and his scouting ability and what he does, but we got Brad Holmes. You know, we got Brad Holmes. He is going to put someone else in power that he believes in, and that's going to be the next Ray Agnew. Brad Holmes is going to start churning out GMs like Dan Campbell is going to start churning out head coaches. And the same thing with if Ben Johnson leaves, I have faith that the heir apparent Tanner Estrand will be able to step up and fill that offensive coordinator role. If Aron Glenn leaves, I have faith that Terrell Williams, Calvin Shepard, or Deshae Townsend, any of those guys, will be able to step up and fill that defensive coordinator role. We are in the most complete and deep, not only roster, but coaching staff and front office that the Detroit Lions have ever seen. So having that flexibility to, if your offensive coordinator, wunderkind Ben Johnson, gets poached, you got another one waiting in the wings. Or if your salt of the earth, chilling on the bench, kicking his feet up, defensive coordinator Aron Glenn gets poached, you've got another waiting in the wings. I just believe that this Lions team is so deep, both coaching-wise and front office-wise, that we're going to lose guys. That's what happens with good teams. Look at the 49ers during their, almost won a Super Bowl run for the past 10 years. They were losing a coordinator every single year, and the train just kept rolling. When you have the coach, head coach, and the GM established and locked down, you can shake off stuff like that, and you keep rolling.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. And this is a great point, too, in the comment section. Chris turned down the GM position for the Lions, so they created that position for him. That's right. I forgot that happened. And maybe he doesn't want to be a GM. Maybe I don't know.
What would be the path for a team though to like if I'm looking for a general manager? I feel like most teams now may not be true. I think most teams now are looking for the scouting department. It's clear like the draft is everything. So you go to the draft side first, maybe the pro side, but Chris Spielman doesn't really fit into either of those categories. So I'm not saying he can't do it. I don't know what he does necessarily, but like, what would be the path for another team to look at that and be like, let's go get that guy because he's done this? I don't know where that interaction would even start necessarily. I'd be like, I don't know what unless you're just like, because if you're looking for him to hire your next head coach, then maybe that's what it is. Bring him as GM, find your next head coach, and let the head coach run everything.
That's what I see it as.
Okay, so maybe that's the path then. Okay.
Yeah, more of like a play caller. It's a lack. There's definitely a better word I could have used there, but just a guy to set the tone.
Shot caller.
Like a culture builder, if you will, right? Because like they hired Chris Spielman. Spielman helped find Dan Campbell. And it makes sense. You look at Dan Campbell and Chris Spielman to get in a room together and they're ready to tear down tables and talk football, go fishing after, like whatever it is. I think that's what you look for at Chris Spielman to bring in like that, start that stepping stone for your franchise. Because I think we learned from the Detroit Lions, starts at the top, man. And then I think another thing to look forward to, not look forward to it, but watch out for in the case of Ben Johnson is Lance Newmark was the name tied to who he'd want to come in as his GM. So you start seeing him take interviews with the Raiders or Patriots or whoever it may be. That's when I would start sweating a little bit more. One more name, and I'm sorry if you guys like. I don't want to, I don't want this to be a scare show. Like, oh, what if we lose this guy? What if we lose this guy? Deshae Townsend interviewing with the 49ers become their possible defensive coordinator. I'm kind of with Dion with all these names. Like, I think we're efficient enough to like run regardless, but like this is the best the secondary's ever looked.
Yeah.
In a very long time. And I gotta assume Deshae Townsend's a part of that. No?
Yeah, that's what I said on the Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports 5 to 7 Monday through Friday. Come check us out. We asked the question who you would be the most scared of losing. I don't want to say scared. Who you would be the most concerned of losing when you look at Ben Johnson, Aron Glenn, Hank Fraley, Deshae Townsend, all these guys that are getting interviewed. And I said Deshae Townsend because I think that, like I said, Aron Glenn, I'm counting him as good as gone after this year. I just think the writing's on the wall with whether it's the Jets or the Saints. I think he's going to be a head coach next year, and we know how much he means to the secondary. And then if you lose or he takes Deshae Townsend as well, that is two of your most important factors when it came to revamping and building the secondary into what it is. And that makes me a little nervous. And I trust Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell to put guys in the situations. Like, remember, this is Deshae Townsend's first year. So they'll be able to find a guy to replace him. And you see how much better the secondary was under Deshae Townsend compared to Dre Bly. But Deshae Townsend is extremely important, man. And I think losing both him and Aron Glenn would be, I don't want to say debilitating, but it would be a huge hit for the secondary.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I agree. I mean, and he had the guys like Kendall Vildor, right? He had that overlap when he came here. Where it was like when he was actually pretty good, Kendall Vildor was with this guy. So like guys like that made a connection. Look, the thing is, the Lions, the secondary is unique. They play a unique style. So it's hard to I don't know where they would go. I mean, clearly they've won a lot of former players, but that guy actually had coaching experience before. Like the whole Dre Bly thing, he didn't really have much coaching experience. It was kind of like, all right, he played. All right, now he's our guy. So yeah, that'd be a tough one, man. I don't like that you brought up that name. That's not one I thought about too much. So now I'm, a little disappointed that we did that. I don't have a great answer. I don't know. That would stink.
Definitely.
Let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's talk about because this is week 1 of the playoffs. About 2.5 hours, we're going to see the Chargers take on the Houston Texans, but the Detroit Lions are sitting at home with their feet up, resting. Who do you think this is most beneficial for? This bye week, obviously, this Lions roster was riddled with injuries throughout the season. You got some guys that are banged up. Who do you think benefits the most from this bye week on the Lions roster? It could be a unit. It could be a specific player. Who needed this bye week the most?
I know for me personally, just watching Kevin Zeitler come up a little limp there on one of the final series for the game against the Vikings. I think he's definitely one. You got a guy who's 35 years old. As you said earlier, he's playing to a Pro Bowl level. That's a guy you definitely want available, healthy, ready to go for you in a playoff matchup. And I mean, thank God we got a bye week because if it's a whatever it may be, hamstrings I know could take minimum 2 weeks typically, and now we got those 2 weeks for him. Monty, obviously, I mean that's a huge one. It was being 2 weeks for him regardless, but you got those 2 weeks now as well. And that game against Minnesota was very much a playoff game. The winner of that game advanced to another round, the divisional round of the playoffs, and the Detroit Lions got that. So, but for me, Monty and Zeitler for sure, and I'd even say Branch because he plays really physically, and I think it as the season wears on his body a little bit.
Man, I want to see how they respond to this. Like, this is like the team that's like anti-bye week. It's like we're sitting at all. We're playing every week. It doesn't matter if it matters. It's almost like if they could have played this weekend just to play a game, they would have played a game. Like, we're trying to win this football game because it's there. I don't know. Maybe they did. They might have scrimmaged somebody this weekend. Just like a little high school team or something. That's what I want to see. I want to see what that looks like, bro. Like, is it... Like, how do they come out? Like, are they cooking early? Like, what? Because I know in the preseason they still play their guys a little bit. So, like, what does it look like? Like, is it sloppy a little bit offensively early? Depending on who we're playing, that can't be the case in the first playoff game. So, I want to see that. But then you also got to. I also like want to think about it like from the. You don't know who you're playing, so much of it should be looking at yourself. And then what can you take from yourself and be like, all right, we can just improve this, because this is like the perfect time to do that. I mean, what issues can we pick up on, improve upon as we hit the playoffs? Maybe it's just like a little thing they need to clean up, whatever that may be. But I would say for a player spot, it's cornerback for me, because our depth has gotten thin fast, and then having Terrion go down was like, oh, snap. We're without Terrion. I like what we've done, but my good, we have like no depth. I don't know when Rakestrow's coming back, but it sounds like it's going to be soon. Now all of a sudden, it's like Terrion's going to play. Rakestraw might be coming back soon, and I'm feeling really good about the cornerback depth hitting the playoffs. Fortunately, no Carlton, but I would say that, because that honestly, I think not the cornerback room, but the coverage has held together this defense. It's held it together. Like, it's held together the run defense. They don't get a top pressure, without blitzing in football. Like, so what they do in the back end, I think, holds a lot of this thing together, which is why we talk about losing the, secondary coordinator or the pass game coordinator, which would be tough. I would say the back end, just those guys getting healthy.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I agree with a little bit with what Eazy said and with Fred Folsom, but more than just Zeitler, I'm looking at the entire offensive line, because you got those old heads, the gray bushes on the left side of that line. When you look at Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow too a little bit, and even Frank Ragnow, these guys are banged up. We know you like torn pecs. Frank Ragnow had a knee surgery mid-season last year and didn't miss a game. Like, these guys play injured. They play banged up. Graham Glasgow's been dealing with injuries the past couple weeks. Taylor Decker's been dealing with injuries. Like, these guys really needed it. When you look at the old heads on that offense, obviously Penei Sewell, he's him. He's going to go out there. If his arm falls off, he's going to go out there and play. But all those other guys, that even Zeitler, like Eazy said, they've all been dealing with injuries. So I think those offensive linemen really needed this bye week, and we really needed them to get this bye week, because they were looking a little sloppy the past couple weeks, and a lot of that was because of the injuries. A lot of that was because they were going out there, they were battling through injuries, and they weren't looking as sharp as we've seen them in the beginning of the year even. So I think those guys bouncing back and having, a week to rest those giant bodies of theirs is going to be extremely important. And then the other guy, specific player, one player that I'm looking at, this is the most important for, is Alex Anzalone. Like, the guy is out there playing with a broken arm. Like, his arm is still broken. Your arm doesn't heal in 2 months. Like he's still playing, and he even said it on the St. Brown podcast. Shout out to EQ and Amon-Ra St. Brown, that like it hurt really bad after the game, and he could barely put any pressure on it. And the craziest part is when he went out there against the Vikings, he was still playing like he was 100% healthy, flying around, being a maniac, playing as aggressive as he was on the sideline when he broke his arm, and that has to put a toll on you. So having Anzalone get that extra week, another week of doing nothing on that arm for it to heal up, I think that's extremely important, because we saw how much better that defense looked with their captain out there again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a big miss by me. Anzalone's the one.
That thing looked messed up when he showed the picture. That bro's playing with that. It's like,
it's still broken. It's still broken for sure.
I'd be scared to play like that, dude. Hey, how about Gibbs though? Like the whole getting Monty back will help, but bro, Gibbs has been like eating some shots these last few weeks. That screen that he ate, and then everything in pass pro, bro, he's been getting smacked. Yeah, like the big thing, the big cut that he had. Yeah. That bro, he's probably okay with taking a second. He's like, yo, I'm fast, man. This ain't me. You know what I mean? We thought about Monty, we think about or Gibbs, we think about just getting smacked like 4 times a game now. That's what he's had to do these last few weeks. Good for him. Good for him getting a little time off. He's earned that.
Good for him. He was picking up some massive blitzes, especially against the 49ers.
Yeah, he's a receiver. He's a real pass game.
I kind of ask you guys, like, with Monty coming back, do you kind of hope Gibbs still gets the lion's share of the carries?
I do, and I think he will. I think it's going to be like, especially that first game back with Monty, I think it's going to be like a 70-30 split of Gibbs to Montgomery. And I think they'll give David Montgomery that first drive, like they do, just to set the tone, to be like, I'm back, and to go out there and to establish some physicality. I think they'll use David Montgomery on the goal line and in short yardage. But I think it's still going to be the Gibbs show in the playoffs, and rightfully so, man. The guy is a monster. Like, he led the NFL in touchdowns. He had over 2,000 all-purpose yards. The guy is truly, I think he's the best running back in the NFL. And I look at what he does, man, and I think that even with David Montgomery coming back, especially in that first game back where you don't want to put too much workload on him to make sure that knee's okay, I think we could see a 65-35 or even 70-30 split between Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would depend on matchup. And I know it feels like a cop-out answer, but it's because Minnesota. I think a game like Minnesota's a perfect example. Monty is built to work against Minnesota, and I thought that the struggles early in that game was like, this isn't necessarily the Gibbs style typically, and Gibbs is still so young that to Spencer's point, like where he is right now, like, dude, if you don't think he's the best now, where he's going to get to is the problem. Because, like, even when things don't look right, this guy's still insane. It's just give him enough carries and then he's going to break one eventually. And the passing game stuff, the routes that he can run, that he's capable of, I don't know how you're supposed to cover some of that stuff. I mean, the first third down that he just turned around backwards and picked up the first, you're not supposed to do that in the NFL. That's not supposed to work. It's like one of those plays where it's like, man, it's too fast in the NFL. You got to get upfield. This dude turned around and ran backwards, then he went back upfield. So that's the kind of goofy stuff that he's capable of. But I think Monty was perfectly built for Minnesota, and we felt the loss of him early in that game. And then eventually it broke open with some of the outside stuff. But I thought all the inside runs, like where typically Monty's like, all right, you can miss a block, but I'm still their linebackers are tiny. Like Cashman and Ivan Pace like 220. Those guys struggle to bring down Monty on first contact, but Gibbs they weren't. It was like we're bringing him down immediately. I thought Gibbs was rushing things a little bit. So I think when you have matchups like that, Monty's perfect because he's going to eat that spot up, and then once you get Gibbs into the game, he's going to be fine in the area that you want to use him like we did eventually. So most matchups, I'm with Gibbs the majority of the time. But I think a team like Minnesota is unique.
And a real quick point here, Eazy. I think the play action with David Montgomery is going to be a weapon because they're going to see David Montgomery check into the game. They're going to be like, oh, they're running. Goff's going to pull that thing out, hit J-Mo deep down the field. Like I think that play action with David Montgomery is going to be huge.
Yeah. Monty been huge after the catch this year too.
Yeah.
I think this is probably been his best year receiving the ball. I got to look up the numbers, but I feel like it's been. I know the hit heard around the world was Vikings do suck, and that sure is for sale. If you'd like to purchase it.
LionsNationUnite.com.
Yes, sir. But yeah, that big hit, the shot heard around the world against the Seahawks. That was a catch.
Oh,
that was
man.
right after he caught the ball. Yeah,
it's my favorite play I've ever seen in football.
So I'm kind of with you on that one, Spinny. And then honestly, I forgot whatever else I was going to say. I want Gibbs the ball a little bit more, and Monty maybe in short yard situations. But as Dion was saying, the Gibbs is like what he can be is like, yeah, you think speed back. But then just last week, he had a stumble touchdown where he just wouldn't stop going. I think Panay helped him at the very end too. I don't know. I have to watch it back, but like, yeah, he's not supposed to be doing those things.
No.
Does it all.
And Keith Garardo in the Lions Nation Unite chat, I almost said Woodward Sports chat again. He says, you guys are sleeping on Craig Reynolds. That dude has been balling. I don't think anybody's sleeping on Craig Reynolds. We appreciate Craig Reynolds for what he does. He had a great game against the Vikings. He came in there when Gibbs got a little banged up after that hit from Van Ginkel, and he made plays. He got first downs. He was rushing, and he looked good, but he's not David Montgomery. Like I love Craig Reynolds, but David Montgomery is a top 15 running back in the NFL. So, like, I don't think that anybody's sleeping on Craig Reynolds as much. Great job for Craig Reynolds and Jamar Jefferson and Sion Vaki all stepping up in different facets when they needed them. And that just proved, like, I saw a stat from Detroit Lions PR about let me try to find it real quick, about the running back room of the Detroit Lions and just how insane it has been this year. I want to find the exact stat so I don't butcher it, but these guys have been one of the best running back rooms, not even just this year in the NFL, but ever. And here it is. It's the Detroit Lions running back unit combined for 3,307 scrimmage yards and 32 scrimmage touchdowns this season, leading all of the NFL running back units in both categories. The last team to do that was the last team to have at least 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns from the running backs was the 2006 Chargers, and that was basically LaDainian Tomlinson by himself. He had like 2,400 all-purpose yards and 32 touchdowns. So this team is just built in the trenches, and every single running back on this roster has the ability to make plays. But David Montgomery is a different beast.
You know what's weird too is the whole Craig. Like Craig was perfect. Like he was the perfect compliment, and that's why they work so well. Because like for so long it was like trying to figure out the compliment to Swift and that kind of thing. He's a perfect compliment because he brought some of what Monty does well to life in the run game, and it popped. Like to your point, when he came in, it was like an 8-yard run in there. It was like a 3-yard run. He was picking up first downs. He was used on the counters on short yardage. The thing with Craig though, I think we noticed is. And I'm not putting on Craig necessarily, but like when they would the interception that happened, there was like some weird timing of kind of an in-between, almost like Goff's expecting you to kind of, all right, leak out now. And then he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And he kind of just stands in. And there was multiple times at Pass Pro where it was kind of messy. You know, there was one that Goff completed late. I remember, watching it back. He completed it just over the middle. He didn't get sacked. He only brought 4. But Zeitler slid outside. Craig left. And after the play, Zeitler was fired up at Craig. Like, yo, that's your dude. And that happened about 3 or 4 times. And I think with Monty, to what Eazy said, you plug him in, he's an excellent receiving back, and that you just trust him. There's just a better connection there. It's just with Craig, it was a little bit like more, all right, we're kind of figuring this out. Monty's just so consistent, you know exactly what you're going to get, and that kind of stuff feels like the chemistry will be there when he's back in the game.
Yeah, and what he does for the locker room too. He's a great locker room guy. They all love him. He is the leader of that running back room. Like Jahmyr Gibbs might be the best, most talented guy in that, but David Montgomery is the leader. He is the old head. He is the guy that gets him going. So I think establishing David Montgomery in that first drive is going to be impressive too. We've seen the Lions offense on these first drives the past couple games kind of stall out. They didn't look as good as they had. And I think a big factor of that is not having David Montgomery, because every week all year, that first drive has been the David Montgomery show. He sets the tone, he picks up first downs, bleeds the clock, and that is extremely important when you're looking to take over a game, give yourself some confidence, and kind of win that battle of possession early. So I'm excited for Monty to come back. I love the guy, and just having that two-headed monster in the backfield is going to be so important for the playoffs.
And we ran the ball in that first drive, I think, every play, to your point. And that's where it's like, that inside stuff, it just wasn't the same with Gibbs. Monty's in there, I think it changes everything. To your point, it changes everything because it's just a little bit more efficient.
Winning first, and I love Jahmyr Gibbs, and he can do it too. But that first play of the game, winning first down, David Montgomery up the middle, he gets you 4 yards. That puts you in such a better position, 2nd and 6 compared to 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10 or something like that. It just makes the drive so much easier.
Yep. Yeah. Don't forget that drive he had too against the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay,
in overtime. Yeah.
Yeah, literally the same duo, touchdown. That was awesome.
Bro, but he's literally we think of Gibbs as like a certain type of back. To everything the Archers said, Monty's put the team on his back in like 2-minute drills at the end, and he's not doing anything fancy. He's just leaking out, catch a curl, like bro. But he cooks on those. There's so much good timing there. Where it's like with Craig, I just didn't like. If we were in that spot, I don't know what that would have looked like, and you would have had to go to Gibbs in that spot. So it's like with Monty, you go to him, and it's like you're gonna get the production. Then obviously you put Gibbs at receiver, which has now become a thing. That's been a weapon. That's been a real weapon putting him at receiver.
David Montgomery's like that older lady server at a diner that's been there for 40 years, and he's the opener and the closer. Like he goes in there, he opens, he sets the tone for you in the beginning of the game, and at the end of the game, when you need to bleed the clock, get a first down, and win the game, you put in David Montgomery, and he runs people over, and he does the job. He's the opener and the closer. He's there all day. He's there in the morning giving you breakfast, and at night serving you the burger. Like I love
it. It does remind me of old Darla.
Old Darla, yeah, the Starlight Diner down the street,
Yeah, and I think one place where Gibbs has evolved that I wanted to see this year too. It's only a sophomore season. This still may even develop into more, but Dion saw about him as a receiver, but even on the backfield as a receiver, like how many times this year? I think it's at least twice or 3 times we've seen him on that little Texas slant. I think they call it for those running backs out of the backfield, where he's just in and he's just so fast. Linebackers can't keep up. And JG is just so in rhythm with everything. He puts it right where it needs to be. It's a touchdown every time.
That's emerged like over the last few weeks, Easy. That's
Yeah.
like, I mean, that thing's become a thing. That route on Big Geeko was disgusting. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that.
And it's not the first time we've seen it either. I gotta find
No.
Gibbs is special, man. Gibbs is special. I love the guy, but it's going to definitely help getting David Montgomery. You can never have enough running backs. You can never have enough weapons. So it's good to get David Montgomery back. Potentially. Again, it's not confirmed yet, but everybody is expecting him to play in this first playoff game after the bye week.
I think, did he already say he's coming back?
I believe he did, and I believe Dan Campbell did. But again, I don't think it's been confirmed by the team or the doctors officially yet. So, but it's more than likely it's going to happen, barring any kind of setback. Before we get out of here, again, appreciate everybody in the Woodward Sports chat. Make sure you, in the Lions Nation Unite chat, make sure you smash that like button. I see y'all in there. Doug H. Nutt, Dr. Detroit, Jay Cruisin, Just a Fan, Dolo Dynamite, Chicken Nugget King, Steve Lehman, Stephen S., everybody in there, Lisa, Lions Bad Guy Fan, John YK, everybody in there, appreciate you tapping in. Make sure you smash that like button, share everything. This is Lions Nation Unite. It is a platform created by Herman Moore and CZ, Chrissy Zakar, to get all of Detroit Lions content creators and fans together to get some great content going. So, again, I am Spencer Raxter. He is Speak Easy. We are the Woodward Heavyweights from Woodward Sports, and that is Dose of Dion 2.0. Make sure you follow him on everything and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. We appreciate you all watching. Before we get out of here, quick, one team you guys want to see the Lions play in that first playoff matchup in Ford Field. Dion, who do you want? You go first.
Washington. I think we will.
Yeah, Washington. That's what I want to. I know it's probably not going to happen, but that's what I want. Give me the rookie.
Think they can beat Tampa? You don't think they can beat Tampa?
No, they're not going to beat Tampa.
They're not going to beat Tampa.
Tampa is on fire right now. And
Baker's insane.
Look terrible.
You know who I want? Give me the fucking Vikings again. Give me the Vikings again. I want Minnesota. Bring them back to Ford Field. Bring that ass here, boy, and I want to take down the Vikings again. I hate the Vikings so much, but we appreciate you guys tapping in. Got a little heavyweight there at the end. Make sure you smash that like button. Get your Vikings suck, Bears suck, Packers suck, all that good stuff at the shop on LionsNationUnite.com. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
See that.